Hello, welcome to my presentation of my composition one. I think this piece as a whole is quite unified through everything in the piece kind of boils down to a central point, and everything radiates out from there. So that's kind of like the theme throughout the piece. Both like the circles in the foreground that are brightly colored, that are contrasted from the background. Everything radiates outwards. And the background too, the concentric circles and squares, and the radial lines that also make up part of the gradient in the background really draws your focus to the central point, and you keep coming back to the central point at the center of the piece. And so that's kind of how things are unified through where the piece focuses your attention, and also through similar components like shape and color and things like that. In terms of the design principles that are represented through the piece, um, you have emphasis. The bright yellow circles that are in contrast with like the complementary dark blue background really makes those elements stand out. I also tried to shade them pretty heavily so that it really feels like they have a sense of mass that helps them distinguish themselves more from the background. Um, what else? Scale. Obviously, the circles that are radiating around the center um, are, increasingly large. So you really get a sense of depth perception as you look further into the piece. You get, more of a sense of depth there. Um, the piece is also relatively balanced, both from the objects in the foreground. The circles are radially symmetrical, or radially balanced. And the background is also pretty balanced as well. You have the top left and bottom right quadrant, which have similar discrete gradients that radiate out from the center. They have similar patterns, similar concentric circles and squares. Whereas in the top right and bottom left quadrants, you have the radial lines and the more fluid gradient um, emanating from the center. So I think that gives it like a pretty good sense of balance as well. Um, and the piece is also very rhythmic throughout. The consistent placing of the circles, increasing at a pretty gradual rate. Um, Everything seems to flow outwards at the same pace. The top left and bottom right quadrants, the discrete gradients also kind of emanate at the same rate as the circles in the foreground expand outwards as well. So everything is pretty fluid and very rhythmic throughout. And yeah, thank you for listening.